Hi, I'm Carla Wolf. Welcome back to Cognitivology and our introduction about our continuing education opportunity emphasizing children's intuitive development. Among some of the practical details we'll explain is how the early intuitive acquisition of language is meant to ensure the intuitive development of all of our abilities. Also, how intuitive emotional development should support the full development of our brain's reasoning capabilities conducted by the prefrontal cortex in matured adult brains. But most essentially, we'll explain how the core elements of the brain's intuitive reasoning capabilities are established during the intuitive development of preschool learning, even though these advanced frontal brain areas develop predominantly during the teen and early adult years. Now, all of that may sound a little tricky and confusing, but new patterns of knowledge and information usually are, and only cognitivology has connected together all of these diverse stages of cognitive development. By enrolling in our webinar, you'll fulfill what a continuing education session should do: give you and teach you new information. Now it's time official educational agencies did what they are supposed to do, which is to follow the neuroscience. And the neuroscience tells us that as much as 90% of the human brain develops within the first 5 years of life. That would mean that educational administrations and organizations should be 90% invested in reforming early education and only 10% invested in elementary and high school education. But they are organized to do the exact opposite. Now, I think it's safe to say that they are ignoring some fundamental neuroscientific data and evidence, and they are failing to do the math and the science themselves while expecting our nation's students to excel in these areas. Preschool learning should be designed around a natural science curriculum, modified and diversified by all of the fundamental principles of math. But here we insist on early literacy development. Meanwhile, the world's top performing academic nations defer formal reading and writing skills until at least age 5 or 6. Allow me to elaborate a little bit more about what a preschool learning curriculum entails. Science tells us that our environment is made up of more than just this third dimension. Children, indeed all of us, would greatly benefit from becoming literate about the basic elements of an environment that's sensitive in multi-dimensional ways. Children especially deserve to intuitively become literate about the fundamentals in math and science. Why? Well, because all knowledge and information comes from our environment. Intuition is the most advanced intelligence process for any skill or ability. And math and science best describe our environment and universe. And math and science also serve as the criteria for defining all other classifications of knowledge. And children are intuitively learning the basics of all knowledge classifications, which means that they're learning the basics of math and science, which are one and the same and interchangeable at their most basic level. Basic math and science literacy are essential to innovation. Innovation is more than just about technology. Innovation is essential to all fields of knowledge, including the humanities. For innovation, the essentials of adult intuitive reasoning skills are necessary and invaluable. But basic intuitive literacy in math and science, essential to all fields of knowledge, can only be intuitively established during the preschool stage, and that is precisely why preschool teachers hold the most important job in the world. If we are fostered during the preschool stage to become intuitively literate in the fundamental properties of all knowledge classifications, which are synonymous with the fundamental properties of math and science, then there's nothing to stop us in adulthood from being able to intuitively process any form of knowledge or information, whether it's concrete or abstract, natural or artificial, visible or invisible, three-dimensional or multi-dimensional. Humanity and all of its endeavors of life, development, and progress are simply, very simply, matters of human brain development. And human brain development is in fact child brain development, because the brain develops during the childhood years from age 0 to approximately age 22, and even as late as age 25 or 28. But then again, 90% of that brain development takes place during the first 5 years. Also, the human physical brain begins to deteriorate shortly after age 30. And that is precisely why we need to take advantage of brain development during the brain development years. And that is also another reason why adult intelligence skills are better managed by intuition, because the intuitive mind is virtually impervious to deterioration. Human child brain development progresses in steps, stages, and sequences. They are links, connecting links in a total process of human cognitive brain development. Now, we are only as strong as our weakest link, which means that we are really only as smart as our weakest stage of cognitive brain development. The preschool stage accounts for the least amount of formal documentation and information among all of the links in this, or all of the stages in cognitive brain development, making it our weakest link. Now, there are literally zero resources explaining all of the domains and functions of early preschool learning. And that is significant because as an early educator, you already know that all preschool learning functions and domains are essentially inseparable and virtually identical. So explaining one function or domain requires explaining all of them simultaneously in real time. As preschool teachers, you are in the position of becoming the world's real human development specialists. Human development specialists should be experts in uncovering and understanding the least understood stage, or the attributes of the least understood stage of human cognitive brain development. Preschool is our least understood stage, making it our weakest link, and therefore requires distinctive expertise that can only be mastered and delivered by professional preschool teachers. Consider this: the early development of our planet unfolded in a variety of ways simultaneously to support and sustain our eventual complex life systems. Similarly, the early development of our brains is meant to support and sustain our eventual complex adult intelligence reasoning capabilities. This also reflects a parallel that our brains have evolved over thousands of years from back to front. And the cognitive stages of brain development do exactly the same for each individual's brain over the course of 21 to 25 years. Our brains develop from back to front. Preschool teachers can literally design the future of our world and impact all endeavors of humanity by improving our skills and further deepening our understanding of the brain's purpose of developing the way that it does during the preschool stage. If 90% of the brain develops within the first 5 years of life, and the first 3 years of life constitute half of that 90%, while preschool constitutes the other half of that 90%, then we are at a fundamental disadvantage without a sufficient, comprehensive resource divulging the true values of intuitive preschool learning. But Cognitivology is here and prepared to help address that challenge. So are you ready to embrace a stature of pride and greatness by contributing to a worldwide effort toward defining early educational teaching as the supreme profession of all professions? We have to step up and do it ourselves because educational organizations are simply unorganized for that task. When you enroll in our webinar, we'll uphold our commitment to teach you new information, to connect the dots about the significant processes of preschool learning and its prominent influence on adult intuitive reasoning capabilities. In particular, we'll uphold our promise to explain to you the influential role of a preschool teacher or as a preschooler's parent in helping to secure the future success and stability of all of our world's societies. We also like to acknowledge that adult self-improvement theories are magnificently invaluable. They are a meaningful necessity to human progress. Their techniques have been lifesavers for so many people. Luckily for us, the continuous potential plasticity of the adult human brain equips us with the ability to recognize, reorganize, and reconfigure what we already know to accord more consistently with the knowledge of potential and possibilities, which defines the brain's hardwiring system if we also include the knowledge of compassion and optimism. Such flexibility allows us to retain open-minded tendencies toward acquiring new knowledge and information that can be applied to our reasoning, intelligence, and behavior capabilities. However, at Cognitivology, we are positively sure that human brain development was never intended to be modeled according to the rhetorical Murphy's Law, describing that there's never time to do anything right the first time around, but that there's always time to do it again. How many people make their daily meals according to that criteria? Why should we treat something as precious and delicate as the emotional human brain according to that theme? But that is precisely what human history has done for thousands of years. Now, we have a sufficient amount of neuroscientific information to change that legacy. And that's important because the early stages of brain development take place only once in a lifetime, rather than according to Murphy's Law. In addition to that, we are certain that tapping into and unleashing latent brain potential is most achievable and perhaps only truly possible by fostering the early stages of brain development according to its own natural codes for cognitive development, and especially for intuitive development. And altogether, the early stages of life would be better defined as intuitive cognitive development. In conclusion, what all this means is that the more than 90-year-old official definition for cognition is due for an overhaul. And we look forward to proving that new definition to you too. So join us. When you enroll in our seminar, we will be more than happy to explain to you a whole new world of information about the significances of early development and the significances of preschool teaching. We hope you'll join us. See you there. Thank you for tuning in. So long.